when my husband shared me with a stranger. I never imagined that it would lead to something that would change our lives forever. It all started on an ordinary evening. My husband Ryan and I have been married for 5 years, and our relationship had always been strong. We loved each other deeply, but over time, we both felt that there was a certain thrill that had gone missing from our lives. We have been talking about the idea of exploring our boundaries, trying new things to reignite the spark in our marriage at first. I thought it was just talk, a fleeting conversation between two people who wanted something different. We're too afraid to act on it. One evening as we were having dinner, Ryan brought up the subject again, but this time his voice was serious. Almost as though he had already made up his mind. What if we tried something completely new? Something that would excite us both? He said, looking at me with an intensity that sent a chill down my spine. I looked into his eyes, searching for any hint of hesitation, but there was none. He was certain. I felt a mixture of curiosity and fear. I had always trusted Ryan with all my heart, but the thought of sharing such an intimate part of myself with someone else felt both thrilling and terrifying. "What are you suggesting?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. Ryan took a deep breath and leaned closer. "I think it would be exciting to share you with someone, a complete stranger. It could be a one-time thing, something to push us both outside of our comfort zones." His words hung in the air, and I could hardly believe what I was hearing. Part of me wanted to laugh it off, to pretend it was just a silly idea, but another part of me, the part that had always craved adventure, felt intrigued by what he was suggesting. As the days passed, we talked about it more. Ryan was patient with me, always assuring me that he would never do anything that would hurt me. He promised that I would have control over the situation, and he would be there with me every step of the way. It was hard to resist, the temptation of the unknown, of something that could spice up our lives in a way we had never experienced before. Eventually, I agreed to go along with it, but only if we found someone who was respectful and understood our boundaries. Ryan assured me that he knew exactly what we were looking for. After some time, he found someone. His name was Daniel. The man was both charming and mysterious. He seemed to fit the description of someone who could fulfill our fantasies without crossing any lines. The night we arranged to meet Daniel was filled with tension. Ryan and I had agreed to a hotel room away from our usual environment, where we could explore this new dynamic without any distractions. I couldn't stop thinking about what was about to happen. Would it be everything I imagined? Or would it end in regret when Daniel arrived? He was exactly what I expected. Tall, confident, and incredibly attractive. He had a presence that was impossible to ignore, and I couldn't help but feel drawn to him. The moment we met, there was a spark, a chemistry that I had not anticipated. Ryan was there, of course, keeping a watchful eye, but he gave us the space to interact freely. As the evening progressed, things began to heat up. The three of us shared a few drinks, and the conversation flowed easily. It felt surreal, like we were in a completely different world, one where our usual roles no longer applied. Ryan and I exchanged glances silently, communicating both excited and nervous about what was unfolding. And then it happened, the moment when everything changed. Daniel's touch was gentle at first, a simple brush of his hand against mine, but it was enough to send a jolt of electricity through my body. My heart raced, my mind spun, and I could feel my body responding to him instructed. Hadn't expected. Ryan watched closely, his eyes filled with both desire and anticipation. I could tell he was enjoying the moment, watching me surrender to something new and exciting. It was a feeling of liberation, of being free from the usual constraints of our everyday lives. But as the night continued, I began to question whether I was truly ready for this. Was I just being swept up in the moment? Was this something I wanted, or was I simply trying to please my husband? I could see the uncertainty in Ryan's eyes too. This was new for both of us, and the unknown was both thrilling and frightening. As the night wore on, the boundaries we had set started to blur. There were moments when I lost myself completely, when the chemistry between Daniel and me felt like a fire that could not be extinguished. But there were also moments when I felt a strange sense of guilt, as if I was betraying something precious. I could feel Ryan's gaze on me, But he never stopped me. In fact, he encouraged me to explore, to experience something new. He wanted me to be free, to enjoy the thrill of the moment. When it was over, I lay in bed, my mind racing with thoughts and emotions. Ryan was beside me. But there was a distance between us now and soon. Spoken understanding that things had changed. I felt conflicted, torn between the excitement of what had just happened and the guilt that followed. Ryan held me close as though trying to comfort me, but I could sense that he was struggling with his own emotions as well. The next morning, everything felt different. The excitement had faded, leaving behind a sense of unease. I wondered if we had made a mistake, if we had crossed a line that we couldn't uncross. But at the same time, I could deny the thrill of the experience. The way it had made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. Over the next few weeks, Ryan and I continued to talk about what had happened. We discussed our feelings, our fears, and our desires. It was clear that we had both changed, but in different ways. Ryan seemed more confident, more secure in our relationship, while I felt a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. We have crossed a boundary together, and it had brought us closer in some ways, but it had also created a tension that we couldn't ignore. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were living in a different world. Now one where our relationship was no longer defined by the rules we had once followed. I had experienced something new, something that had opened my eyes to a side of myself I didn't know existed, and while I didn't regret it, I couldn't help but wonder what it meant for the future of our marriage. In the end, I realized that our relationship had always been about trust, and this new experience, while unexpected, had deepened that trust. But it had also made me question what I truly wanted. Was I ready for more adventures like this? Or was I satisfied with what we had? It was a question I didn't have an answer to yet, but one thing was for certain: our journey had just begun, and I was eager to see where it would take us next. As for you, my dear readers, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like me and subscribe to my channel for more exciting tales of love and adventure. I have many more stories to share with you, stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat, waiting for the next twist. So stay tuned, because the best is yet to come.